The problem that my student was presented with states, in Charlotte's Web, the goose lays some eggs which Templeton has been monitoring with his little round beady eyes. If the goose were to lay 24 eggs and one half were hatched and the goose wanted to keep 1/3 of the duds, how many could Templeton add to his nasty collection? The student started out by solving this problem by creating a large box that seemed to represent the 24 eggs that were laid. The student then stated that one small box was equal to one whole egg. They then divided the small box into 3 parts, thinking that this would represent 1/3 of the duds. When listening to the audio of this problem, the student becomes aware, with assistance from the adults helping her, that this is not the correct way to solve the problem. So then, as we move down on the paper, we can see that the student then drew another large box representing the 24 eggs, but this time divided the whole box in half. The student then labeled half of the box with 12 and the other half as 12, stating that half of 24 was 12. The student then knew that she needed to find what 1/3 of 12 was to find out how many of the duds the goose wanted to keep. So she divided a smaller box into 3 parts and labeled one box with 4 eggs. This shows her understanding that 1/3 of 12 is equal to 4. With this information, she knew that the goose wanted to keep 4 of the 12 duds. She then understood that this was not the answer that the question was asking for, but it was asking for how many could Templeton keep. By providing the answer of 12, the student shows that she knew that she needed to add the other 2/3 together to get the correct answer. If I were to teach this to a student who did not understand how to solve this problem, I would start out by drawing a large box and labeling it with 24 eggs. I would have the student read the problem to know where the 24 came from. I then would explain that next we need to find out how many is in 1/2 of the 24 eggs, because we know that half of the 24 eggs hatched and half were duds. I would ask the student if they knew what half of 24 was, and once they gave me the correct answer of 12, I would draw 2 smaller boxes underneath the large box and label each of the smaller boxes with 12. We then would look back to the problem and see that the goose wanted to keep 1/3 of the duds. So I would make it known to the student that we are no longer talking about the 12 hatched eggs. We are just focusing on the 12 duds. I would then ask them if they knew what 1/3 of 12 was. And once they were able to come up with the correct answer of 4, I would show them that we would represent 1/3 of 12 by drawing 3 small boxes underneath the bigger box. We would then label each of the smaller boxes with 4, representing that each box is 1/3 of the larger box. I would then refer back to the question and ask the student how many duds the goose would keep, reminding him or her that the goose wanted to keep 1/3 of the duds. When the student would correctly say that the goose would keep 4 duds, I would then ask them to circle how many duds the Templeton would get. If he needed assistance with this, I would show him that the goose took 1/3 of the duds, which was 4, leaving the other 2/3 for Templeton to have. By circling the 2/3 that Templeton gets, The student will then realize that they need to add these two numbers together to get the correct answer of 8 duds.